Okay, welcome to the special select board meeting of, what is today? April 11th, 2023. This is at 5 o'clock. We are meeting for the purposes of interviewing candidates for the town lister vacancy. And we have two candidates, one present, one on the Zoom call. And we have Lister Marcia Chaffee. Preliminary question is whether, if there is, and I hope there will be a motion to go into executive session, whether we bring Marcia in during the interviews. Remember, she's hiring for a separate position in the Lister's office, or whether we just have her available in the waiting room in case questions come up. So
Can you explain that to the new guy?
Okay.
What Marcia's hiring for?
Marcia's hiring for the admin position, which is up to, I think we said, what, 25 hours a week paid position to help with some of the work that the listers have to do. It was especially critical because we didn't have anyone in there with her after Howard left and Dean wasn't working as much.
Okay, but Jack and Marie are only applying for the lister
listers,
appointment.
That's
correct?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's your pleasure on that before we have Marcia in the waiting room in case we have questions?
Yeah, having her
She would like to wait in the waiting room.
waiting in the waiting room wouldn't be a bad thing.
Okay. All right.
She should start the interview with a briefing on what the job entails. And then go to the waiting room.
Well, Marie and Jack, would it be helpful if Marcia gave you an overview of what the job is? Okay. All right, so why don't we do that? Meeting's called to order, and we're gonna, we'll hold the motion to go into executive session until after we hear an overview from Marcia. So Marcia, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'll try to be as brief as possible, but the job of a lister is can't really be described in less than 10 words. But the major job of the lister is to maintain the grand list in order to be able to set tax rates, to collect taxes for the operation of the town business. I'll just give you a brief overview. We're in the process right now of going into a brand new system called Vermont PI, which is the Vermont Property Information Exchange System. This was a contract that was put out by the state of Vermont, where every community, every town, every city in Vermont will have to subscribe to this particular program. So that's what we've been doing since December. We've been taking classes and going through all of this. But as a lister, we have to assess the property, and we also have to inspect properties once there has been a building permit on file for an addition to the properties. We also have business personal property. Our business personal property is actually in conjunction with a firm out of Hartford, Connecticut, G&K. Gail Gantic is the head of this committee, and she is now the retired head assessor for the city of Hartford, Connecticut, and she's working as our consultant and has been here since 1998. So there are differences in the towns between the board of listers and board of assessors. Assessors have to go through a series of IAAO classes that are mandatory, which is the International Association of Assessors International Association of Assessors. The state is now probably going to be implementing a program where listers will also be mandated to take the same courses as if you were applying to be an assessor. It looks like somewhere down the road, the board of listers is going to be eliminated in the towns, and there will only be assessors. So basically, maintaining the grand list is our biggest, our biggest responsibility. We have to make sure that properties are assessed fairly. We have to, we go through grievance processes if there are any, and that usually happens in sometime in June. The grand list is locked as of April 1st. So anything that with PTTRs, property transfers, that happens after April 1st does not get put into the grand list until we build a new grand list for the 2024 season, which will probably sometime in August. So up until that time, maintenance is the main objective of maintaining the grand list. Anybody have any questions? I'd be happy to answer them. There's a lot of work involved, a lot of chasing.
So,
Matt's got one.
so Marcia,
Yeah.
when there's not a town-wide reassessment underway and it's not grievance season, what's the sort of workload like typically for the listers?
Well, it's processing the PTTRs.
Okay.
And there's also, I mean, there's constant work. Our final grand list doesn't get sent to the state until December 31st of this year. Up until that time, there's always maintenance that has to be done. Homestead declarations have to be put in. Current use has to be validated. So it's a constant work in progress.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thanks.
Any other questions from the select board? Marie, do you have any questions of Marcia?
So one of the questions is, I know that there was a good evening or good afternoon, everyone, by the way.
Okay.
Was the workload between the listers that have been there in the last several years has been uneven. And so with Marcia and the new interim intern, or the intern that she's gonna admin, what is the role of the listers as far as the workload that's gonna be perceived between the 3 listers and the admin?
Well, as you know, Marie, the 2 listers will be part-time as they always have been. The workload is basically from now until through the grievance process. We're going to have to do house site visits. We're going to have to reevaluate and enter into the system new values for additions, deletions. We work through the year to flag accounts. We send out grievance notices to people, and you know, as a board, the 3 of us would meet as a board to listen to grievances. In the past, it's true that Dean really didn't, the only time he was really you know, with us is at the grievance process. He has a wealth of knowledge being a contractor, and he was a great help in having us, you know, put in proper assessments and so forth. But there's always something that's going on, especially now when we're migrating from the old NIMRIC system and we're now going into Vermont Pi. It's a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of uploading. Right now, because the Vermont Pi system isn't working, as of this morning, I had 892 homesteads that I had to verify, which I can't do yet because they haven't turned the switch on for us to be able to verify them. So it's a lot of work.
Sure.
Anything else, Maureen? Any other questions?
No, I was just, because I know of what her hope was for the delineation, between the different listers and the new admin. But as long as it's part-time, as the intent was, that's all I needed to have verified.
Okay. Jack, do you have questions of Marie?
Two things come to mind. By the way, I'm Jack McCamley,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
in case you didn't know. And thank you for having me here today. Marshall, you said something about validating the current use.
Yes,
Do you do that through the Vermont Department of Taxes? The current use permit?
we're doing that through Vermont Pi. That is one of the programs that is migrating over to the Vermont Pi system. And it'll go back to the Department of Taxes. And, there'll be various questions asked. Right now, we have 34 current use parcels. The parcels generally, unless there's been a withdrawal, they don't really change. So all you have to do is verify the acreage, the values and so forth. I have gotten one new one, which I will be working with, and hopefully we'll have, on board two more listers so that we can all learn together, the current use values and how to apply them. We have one withdrawal and one new current use property. And basically it's just looking them over and sending them back to the state. The state has questions. They will send you, their question, and then you either validate what they want to know, or you have to look into what was wrong with the information that was gathered.
Thank you. I do know from past experience that I definitely want something in writing from the tax department, because when I've been given verbal information from them, it's as frequently incorrect as it is correct.
Oh, I agree, Jack. I agree. Yeah,
You also-
no, the new system has a built-in module where when you return that current use to the Vermont Tax Department, you can ask questions and then they have to answer you. So that's a record that can be uploaded into the property lister card, and that will be on file.
And it's the Vermont Pi system that is not yet online, is that correct?
It's coming online. We have our first training tomorrow for current use. We have our second training on Thursday for homestead declarations, verifying them.
I don't know as that will do Marie and I much good for tomorrow or Thursday as far as
Right,
training.
right. But just to let you know, May 1st and 2nd, and then I think it's the following week, there's a mandatory lister training. It's a 4-day training, and it's all done online.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, in reading through the annual report for the town, I noticed that due to the drop in the CLA for the town, that we're due for a reassessment.
Yes, but that's all up in the air because of H480, which is the valuation part with PVNR where the tax department is actually trying to do a statewide reappraisal of every single city and town in the state of Vermont. And there's a lot more to be said with that because we've been watching it started out in Ways and Means, and Ways and Means actually pushed it through without much thought. Then it went to appropriations, and appropriations basically did the same thing. Today, just to give you an update, we heard the Senate testimony, and we had Lisa Wright from VALA testifying and Joe Remick from PVNR, and then one of the attorneys. And I think we all got a better feeling because they asked questions that Ways and Means and appropriations never even thought of. So we've got a much better feeling that now they are listening to us. We had VALA did an online study and asked questions, and we sent that over to government operations. We didn't quite get through that today, but Friday there's going to be another meeting, and government operations is really, really open to learning as much as they can about what the current program is for appraisals and what the new program will be. So right now they're eliminating, part of the bill is eliminating the $8.50 per parcel payment to the towns for reappraisal, but they're increasing the $1 equalization sales study to $2. And right now, because Rutland Town has not reappraised since 2013, which was only a statistical reappraisal, we have close to probably $28,000. But I think all of that is going to be put on hold until there is going to be a conference committee this summer to really, really study this bill and come up with what's going to work for the towns.
Thank you. I have my own opinions on.
Don't we all?
I would love to hear it.
No, not now.
No. No.
Thank you very much for your input.
Yeah, I think you said it in your letter. 2/3 of the towns are out of whack with the CLA. So
166 towns,
there you go. Yeah.
and
And we're
reappraisals
less so
are,
than many others.
yep, reappraisals have been pushed back by a lot of towns to 2027.
Yeah.
I know from personal experience representing people when the most recent boom in real estate went through, that most property sales that were financed were held up by the unavailability of an appraisal.
Really? How long were you waiting?
We were waiting anywhere from what used to be a 6-week from contract to closing became 8-9 weeks.
Okay. Ugh.
We were fortunate in a lot of cases to find.
Well, just to let you know, also, they're doing away with the CLA as a trigger for reappraisals. They're not doing away with the CLA for the equalization study, but they're going to be looking at the COD instead for triggering reappraisals.
Okay. Any further questions for Marcia? Okay. Thank you very much, Marcia. That was
You're
helpful.
welcome.
So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. And since Jack is here live and in person, we'll let him go first. And then we'll bring in Marie next
So move.
Second.
for the purpose of
Personnel matter interviews.
interviews. Okay, motion's made and seconded. Discussion. If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one, so. Marcia and Marie, go into the waiting room, please, and then we'll start in with Jack.
Jack, come on up here.
And then we'll go back into deliberate, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Marcia, a question that we have, we're back into open session.
Okay,
A question that we have that actually Marie has about the mandatory training, is that available as a recorded program so that she could take it later instead of just at a set time, if you know?
well, there's some preliminary training that you can take that isn't the IAAO training, which is going to be a on-site training. You have to be physically at these classes. But there are other trainings that, yeah, I can give her the link. You can go to the link and you can watch it whenever. It's all, excuse me, it's all web-based. So it's not like you have to have an account to get into it. So yeah, absolutely.
So Marcia, is there any required training that has to take place at a particular time?
Well,
just
not at the
optional?
moment. The only training that is required at the moment right now is the May 1st and 2nd, and I can't remember the other dates of new lister and advanced lister training.
So I think that's the question. If that one is required, is that one where you have to be physically present on those
No,
days? at those-
that's done. I can't remember whether it's done via Teams or whether it's done via Zoom. I think it's done via Teams, and that can be done absolutely online.
Do you know if it's going to be recorded to be taken on
Yes,
demand, or is it only?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All of the courses are always recorded and you can take them anytime. There are courses there that I can actually send the links to, to Marie or Jack, and, you watch them when you've got the time.
Okay, I think that answers the questions. We're still in open session. What my suggestion would be is that we go into deliberative session and we discuss the candidates we've heard from, and then we'll come back at 6 o'clock and start our regular meeting. So is there a motion to go into deliberative session?
So move.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
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 Do you want-
Opposed? Okay, motion carries and we're back in.
Do you want,
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Rutland Town Select Board meeting for April 11th. This is our regular meeting at 6 o'clock. We're a minute late. We did have a special meeting at 5 p.m. to interview candidates for Lister, and more on that in a few minutes. But we will start, please. Join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. We'll start with the approval of the select board minutes for March 28th. They're in your packet.
Move to approve.
second,
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any additions, deletions, corrections? Yes, Matt.
One small correction under the attendance. I believe Mr. Lemieux's name was Josh rather than Justin.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
J-O-S-H.
Yep.
Did you get that one, Bill?
Yep.
Okay. Any others? If not, all in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. Any board member announcements? Nope. I will note that here in the select board room, we have Kurt Hathaway, select board member, Sharon Russell, Select Board Member, Matt Getty, Select Board Member, newly appointed last meeting. I'm Mary Ashcroft. Our fifth Select Board Member, Joe DiNardo, was not participating tonight, so you've got 4 of us tonight. I'll pass on the update from the chair for a few minutes. Are there questions from the floor or public comments concerning matters that are not otherwise on the agenda? Howard? Yep, come on up. Howard Burgess.
Hi, everybody. I'm the chair of Fire District Number 1 in Center Rutland. It's a fire district here. And what I'm here about is we have, excuse me, we've been using office space downstairs for our office. And the issue that I'm here for about is after hour access to get into that space. Over the many years we've been here, the Prudential Committee has always had access to it. And as a lister for 29 years, and I was across the hall, of course, I always had access. The fire district treasurer was notified last Thursday that I no longer have access, and that we no longer have access. The fire district at all has no access now to get in. And I get to say that for every major fire that we've ever had over here, I'm one of the first on their list to call it, the firemen call, because they need water, and whether we get it from the city or West Rutland or out of our tank until it drains out. So I mean, that's some of the things that are going on. But I want to just give you a little update on the district itself, because probably you aren't familiar with it. I know the fire department wasn't familiar with our district at all. So what it is, it's a water and sewer system. We have our own well, our own storage tank, and our sewage, we collect it and we pump it to West Rutland. We have like 111 connections of various residents and businesses, and we serve a population of approximately 400 to 500 people. We have 25 fire hydrants. And our fire district provides water to the town of Rutland Fire Department. We've always provided them water. And also, part of our system here, the town owns the Flory Heights sewer system that they put in many years ago. But that sewage from the town comes through our system, and we pump it and send it to West Rutland. So we're connected, we're connected up with the town right now. So as far as the office space, what it was there was vacant space downstairs, and we started using it. In exchange for using it, this is something that Dick Del Bianco, who was the clerk and treasurer, he was the fire district clerk, he was, as you know, selectman and everything else. He's the one that really put all this together for us. But the deal was that we would not bill the town, and we don't bill the town for water or sewer or any bonds, never. But in exchange, it was the empty space that the town had. It wasn't being used, and we've been using this for 25 to 30 years or something like that. And back at that time, the town and fire district agreed on it. I mean, it was an agreement with the select board. I don't know where the writing would be, but that this is what we would do. And so for all these years, we haven't charged anything, and yet it's been a win-win situation for us. We had a space to go to. We have our computer, our printer, maps, drawings, different records. And some of the things that we do, we calculate the billing for West Rutland for the sewer. We basically handle this for the town. The town is supposed to be doing this as well, but we have always done it and taken care of the town. The agreement that we had with West Rutland, Rutland Town, and the fire district was a very detailed agreement for this whole process. And West Rutland had a very detailed billing scheme as to how much we pay them for the gallons we pump to them. And then we have to proportionally figure out what proportion does the town pay and what proportion does the fire district pay. And it's a process but the fire district has always taken care of it. But according to the agreement, both the town and the fire district are supposed to exchange meter readings and calculate their own. They were supposed to compare to see if we agree or not. But we've been doing it. It hasn't been a problem and it's worked. I just wanted to just let you know that that's one of the things we've been doing.
So I know that you're in discussions with the town of West Rutland
Yep.
to basically give up what you do as a fire district and let them take it over.
And for them to take it over. I
Yeah.
just got another email just this afternoon from Mary Ann Goulet. We're getting closer. There was some information that they needed and their public works guy, Seth Patrica, has been shadowing Bert McMahon for the last month and following around to get familiar with the system. And we've been just getting information together from them. They really want to know what's here. As far as the fire district, we had our vote. The fire district had to vote to decide, do we want to go to West Rutland? And it was a positive vote. So we're all set here to go to West Rutland. And if West Rutland gets on with it and gets their stuff going and takes us over, then they will maintain the entire system. They'll maintain the water, water and sewer lines and the whole bit. And we would eventually dissolve, the fire district would be right out of it. But that's where it's headed, and it would be fantastic deal for us and for the town, because the water supply that West Rutland has is fantastic. They have a system that is just great. And every time we've had a major fire here, we run out of water. First of all, that's why they call me. We drain our tank down. I have to tell them, okay, get off our hydrants. And we get this, either the city or West Rutland hooked up. We haven't had West Rutland yet because we haven't had a major fire to bring them in yet. But anyways, that's kind of what it's all about too.
So what is it that you need for access? And, we do want to respect whatever agreement happened 30, 40 years
I'm
ago.
telling you, it was a long
What
time.
what do you need for
Well,
access?
we just need to get into the office. When
Okay.
we have a crisis, and we have them, all of a sudden you get a call from a homeowner that says, "Oh, the pipe broke in my basement, the guy has the water shut off." Well, in order to find out where that curb box is, our records are downstairs. You need to get in, and this is something that, or if it's a main valve out in the line, we just need access to it, and it has never, ever been a problem. I mean, in the past, before the key code came, all of our guys, Charlie Voida, the whole bunch of them, they all had keys.
Mhm.
We all had keys and everything went fine, but all of a sudden, we made a changeover in personnel a year ago, and the other board members said, well, they didn't really need an access. In fact, Bill said, if they wanted an access, tell them to let me know. And they said, well, we're fine, we're good with it.
So the access would be for you still as. the
Yeah, well,
fire
it should be,
district? Okay.
basically, it should be, we should have access for basically the treasurer and the prudential committee members. It's,
Okay,
So all you'd need is one key that you could give to,
well, in the past,
Just a
the
door code
way
now.
Bill handled it, he had Sharon Joswick had her own code,
Mhm.
oh, okay.
Keith, they all had different codes. They all had
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple, but now we can't get in. That's why I said,
Well,
something
that's
happens
why
this
we're here.
weekend.
Yeah.
We're dead in the water.
Yeah. Well, as I said, if anything had happened this weekend, you call me about it. Just
Yeah.
call and I'll come over and we'll get you in. But let's fix this if we can at least until something happens with the West Rutland.
I just got it,
deals.
like I said, I just in touch with Mary Ann Goulet today, and she told me where we're at, and she's hoping that in May, we're gonna be able to have a meeting with them, a real good sit-down meeting with them and really, to move things forward here.
Okay,
We're that close, so.
what's your pleasure, folks?
I make a motion that we give Howard a key.
Code.
Or a key or the code to get in, obviously, it's to our benefit. So that would be my,
Do we want to add his treasurer and prudential
Right.
members as well?
I would like that. if you
Yeah.
could.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd
Okay.
second that.
And
that
who's-
amendment.
Okay, so it's for Howard and the Prudential Committee members and treasurer.
treasurer, correct?
Okay, and it's for the purpose of accessing your records
To
downstairs.
get in the building to get downstairs.
Okay, okay. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
I-
Anyone opposed? Okay,
And we know, we know we gotta get out, and that's why we're really pushing this thing with West Rutland. We know what the town is doing, and we need to get out of there. But I just want to one little last topic I want to bring up is to do with stormwater. And it's to do with your lines that you have in Flory Heights. We've been really clamping down and trying to find out where additional water is coming from. People have sump pumps
mhm.
and different things.
Oh,
And we know for a fact that in Flory Heights, when we have a good rainstorm, we get a lot of water. There's a manhole that we pop, that takes everything coming from Flory Heights. And when that happens, if we're averaging 20,000 gallons a day, it goes up to 40 to 50,000 gallons a day when you start getting from rain gutters and stuff like that. And that's a violation, and it really needs to stop.
okay.
And we sent notices out to fire district members and telling them, that they can't do these things, but I wish, the town really needs to do something with Flory Heights, and because we know there's a lot that's coming out of Flory Heights.
Okay, so we've got our road commissioner here who also handles water and sewer issues. You did know that, right? I think we warned you.
Does now.
And we have chair of our water sewer committee for the select board. So
Am I still on that?
can I ask you two gents to look into that and see what we can do to square away the problem with excess flowage during rainstorms at Flory Heights?
If you want to see it sometime, we'll show you where the manhole is and you can see it. We've monitored it. We've used dye. We've been tracking this stuff. It's a problem.
Okay, thank you for bringing it
Bring it
to
to
our
attention.
attention. And I think we're all set on the other two.
Thank
so,
you very much.
okay,
Yep.
appreciate that,
Howard.
Howard.
Thanks, Howard.
Okay, were any other public comments or questions from the floor?
I think
Yes, ma'am.
this is where I need to ask about craft sales.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Is
well,
this
come on
where
up. Yeah, we're the select board.
So last year, my
So
name
could-
is Christina Moore.
Mhm.
I'm from West Rutland Legion, those of you that don't know me. Last year, we held a craft sale, vendor sale at the Maple Angus area. It went really well.
Good.
We were looking at maybe possibly doing it once a month. Either the first weekend of the month or the second weekend of the month. And I need to know what to do to move forward to do this.
Okay, last year, my recollection was it was a one-time event
Yes,
and you were asking for us to waive the individual vendor fee?
yes, but what we ended up doing was paying the $100. Everybody got a vendor license. And we paid $100 one-time fee.
Mhm.
So now I don't know what it would do doing it once a month, so that's why I'm here.
Okay, so I think at this point, Bill Sweet administers our various ordinances, including the
Yes.
vendor ordinance, so
Yep. I got to know him real well.
I bet.
Especially with the ones that, couldn't be on time.
So I suggest you get together with him, go through what it is you're looking for. And if there's something that we need to, maybe he can handle it there.
We have already talked.
Okay.
That's why.
That's why I'm here. We've already
Okay,
talked.
Because we decreased the application fee, but if they're talking about doing it monthly.
yeah,
We didn't account for anything like that, so.
right.
this-
So that's why I'm
I'm
here.
not sure if this would fall under that anymore, if it's operating as almost like as a business.
Yeah, it'd be once a month for the months of. I wanted to do May, but I don't think we're gonna hit May. So June, July, August, and September would be the 4 months.
Okay,
So it'd be 4 shows.
okay, so what's the specific request?
I don't know. So I haven't had anybody sign up yet because I didn't know what to tell them.
Gotcha.
So I can't tell them you gotta pay $100 to be here because they're not gonna make that much. So I
Okay.
need to know what I gotta pay you guys in order to do this. To get part for the veterans. I don't dare to ask the 20 vendors,
Yeah,
give me $15 and that's not gonna cover if they all gotta pay $100. So I need to know where to go.
well, we don't have the ordinance in front of us, so why don't we, if there's no objection from the select board, let's put it on the agenda for next meeting. And in the meantime, Bill, if you could get the Well, but the request, I mean, you probably will make a
I'll come
request. in
back to
writing.
the next
Okay.
one. I don't
Well,
mind.
make something in writing so he can send it out to us.
Right.
Okay,
And then we'll take a look at the ordinance and see what we need to do to make this
And that,
thing
that
work.
money goes towards,
anything I make off the table fee will go to the veterans.
okay.
That's my goal.
Yep.
I don't know if the gentleman at the end of the building will charge me for using the lot yet. I haven't asked. But I can ask that before I get him I just wanted to get it out there that this is what we want to do and figure out which direction to go.
Okay. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look for something from you
I'll
in
send-
writing and
just
we'll,
Yeah, send
and
him an
we'll
email. and
take a
we'll go
look
from
at the
there.
ordinance and put it on next
Thank you
2
so
weeks
much.
agenda.
2 weeks agenda. See you guys then.
Thank you.
Everybody have a
Yeah.
good night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you right? Yeah, that's mine. I don't think I'll get far without keys.
Okay, yeah, is our architect on?
Right here.
Oh, geez, I'm sorry.
He snuck in.
Expecting you know, here.
I was going to do it remotely, but then I was over at the business fair, so I was like, oh, it's not
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
only take like 5 minutes.
Okay, real short, if you could, please,
Yep.
Jim. Thank you.
So, as you know, I've resigned
Yes.
and Don Chaffee has taken over. And he's out in New York doing a little fishing at the moment.
Thank you.
That's the original sign, okay?
Okay,
If there's
yes,
some need for it.
okay.
No.
Thanks, Jim.
And so the two things I wanted to do is, Dawn had asked me a few questions about, how things go and what's going on. And I wound up building up this report and I thought that it would be nice for the town, the select board to have it. It basically chronicles all the years I've been doing it, and what was requested me to, in the warrants to pursue, and how much of that was collected, how much was abated, and what the current outstanding balance is as of March 31st of this year.
Nice.
And so, and also shows the interest that was collected during that period.
Okay.
So I thought that would just be a nice record for the town to have as far as where this went. And for the moment, Don Chaffee is now sworn in and has a warrant. For the moment, I've given him the phone I was using because it was a separate number. And he or I, he and maybe both of us will approach the board later about what to do with that phone number.
Okay.
And beyond that, the work is going well as far as getting him up to speed on the way that I have done it. As I've mentioned before, the position being elected, how the taxes are actually collected and records kept. There's certain requirements by the statutes. They're minimal, and at this time, we've gotten the whole thing onto NIMRIC, so the town has a history of records from 2014 on.
Yeah. So just for people who aren't seeing the report, let's see, the total amount remitted to the treasurer over the 12 years.
6 years.
Okay, 6 years is $1.5 million. And that includes interest of 169,000 and tax collected of 1.3 million. So outstanding balance right now for overdue taxes is only $65,000, 66. So
Mhm.
thank you very much, Jim.
Quite
Job
welcome.
well done.
Yep,
Yes.
and just want to let you know that we're progressing with getting Dawn up to speed
Yes.
to keep it going this way so that the town has a full accounting of what's going on right in the records.
Yes,
There's no
and I
need to-
really appreciate both you and Don for pulling together and making sure there wasn't a gap there. So
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you.
Hey,
good to see
thank
you,
you for
Jim.
giving me time.
This might be a good thing to put in the town report, Bill. So next year's town report, so we have that record. Okay, any other comments from the floor, or should we hear from now that I've recognized him, our architect. We did, this is Ed Clark, who is from MBF Architects, and we've asked him to come in and kind of give us an update on the public safety building. Tonight, we have to craft the warning for our special town meeting on May 23rd, and we have to put some numbers into it. So that's part of the reason why you're here, but there's also all sorts of questions. And why don't you start with kind of an overview where we are and, okay.
Sure. So we bid the project out. As you know, it came in pretty significantly over our original budget. Our original budget, I thought, was pretty heavy. I was a little nervous about presenting that to JP at the time, and turns out it wasn't heavy enough. But that's kind of the state of construction these days. It's just crazy. So we were instructed to go back and see if we could come up with ways to save money on the project. And one of the first things, VMS Construction was the low bidder. And I don't have exact numbers in front of me, but somewhere around 5.4-ish, $5.4 million. And you were looking to save about, the instructions were, I think, 300,000. But I had told Vic a little bit more than that, like around $500,000. One of the first things that he came back with was our original plan for the building was a pre-engineered steel building. That's what we were looking at. So that's what we designed to. When they got prices from the pre-engineered steel building vendors, they were very high. And a lot of the vendors said, this is much too complicated. And I said, well, why don't we just go to somebody like Jefford Steel, which is a building vendor. They're a steel vendor, but they custom design steel building frames and have done that for years. Back in my bread loaf days, I used to work with those guys. So he was like, that was exactly what he was thinking, just essentially went to a different vendor and shaved, I think it's around $222,000 off the price in one swoop, just essentially changing building vendors. For your guys' standpoint, you're not going to notice anything different with the building. It's a steel frame building. We have insulated metal sandwich panel siding, rubber membrane roof. It's a good system. But instead of getting something from a building vendor like Star Buildings or Butler or Varco Pruden, you're getting from basically a custom, they customize their steel frames to suit whatever the building is, rather than try to pick from a standard kit of parts. So, from a functionality standpoint for the town, you're not going to notice anything different. But it just happens to save simply by buying from this guy rather than that guy.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that was great news when JP brought it in a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah,
we invited him back anytime with news like that.
Yeah.
So are there other things that you've done to bring the cost down?
So there are other opportunities to bring costs down, and I would look forward to reviewing those with the committee. There were some things, for instance, we have a cistern for the fire suppression system water, and we had planned to put it outside the building. We've had some problems with our cistern at Bridgewater, and Kurt's, aware of problems you can have with these cisterns.
Yep.
One of the suggestions from Ronnie Fabian, who is the low bid site contractor, was like, look, putting those cistern tanks outside is an incredible amount of work. He's like, the excavation is unbelievable. He's like, put it in the building. So that is something that I don't have numbers, but that is potentially a significant savings. The problem, and it's going to get a little esoteric maybe, but when you have a fire suppression system, the fire pump is typically down in a little basement along with the water, and you can get it leaking, and it's a pain. In this instance, we can put a cistern under the building and keep the fire pump up on the main floor, so you don't have to worry about that being down below. I think it's a really good solution, and that could save potentially a bunch more money. So there's possibilities out there to save more money if that's what the town would like to do.
Site work, anything there? And do we have the retaining wall issue, or is that gone?
So there is a retaining wall there, and that could potentially go away if we made some changes to the building. But we would have to make some changes to the building. I think we'd have to make that garage a couple feet shorter. And I don't remember specific if we looked at anything from, removing one of the garage bays and moving the sally port over, shrinking the garage. We did a number of things to try to eliminate that retaining wall. I don't know that the cistern necessarily eliminates that retaining wall. But if it's something the town was interested in doing or was looking to save more money, which
We are.
Yep. And you may want to. One of the things that you could do is look for ways that you could save money in the beginning of the job, get the cost down. So you're comfortable going in. It's like, we know we have this money and we have a contingency in our pocket, so we know we can build it. And then because there's things that we've removed from the project that we could add back in later.
Mhm.
Things that you could, something that you could add back in later and get that quality and spend the money if turns out you have it, or maybe you decide just not to do it.
I'm asking these questions because we need to tonight, if possible, come up with a ballot item for the revote on May 23rd, because the last time we voted, we said we wouldn't exceed 4.2
It was like
million.
something like 4.2.
And now what's the number that we shouldn't exceed?
The exact number.
Well,
So I had given JP a breakdown. I don't know if
Yeah.
He's on.
We have 5,240,000 in front of us.
okay.
so that's
So
just
if that's the number that I gave JP, that would be the number that, yeah.
Does that cover us if there happens to be any change orders? Or is that-
So you should have some kind of contingency built in, like I said, if there's change orders, if there's unknown conditions. We did soil borings over there, but who knows, you start digging and,
Yeah.
who knows what you're gonna find.
You find some rocks, which is very possible. on
Yeah,
that lot.
nobody did soil borings underneath the building, so maybe there's a bus under there or something, or who knows.
Ledge.
So
Uh,
how
There's some
much?
shit.
So
Because
it's nice to have a contingency, like
It's all
a
over the place.
5%
My
would
house is
be,
supposed to
would be pretty good.
5. Okay. That's
So,
what we were wondering.
yeah, I would definitely hold some kind of contingency. It's a brand new building, so, the building related change orders should be minimal. There's gonna be some,
Don't know.
there's so many complex little bits and pieces of this thing, we probably missed something somewhere. Just do. So you like to have something because it's gonna be an evolving budget. So I would recommend at least a 5% contingency.
So if we took the 5 and I'll ask JP in a minute, to make sure the 5.240 estimate is good. If you add 5% to that, that adds 262,000 for the contingency, and that brings the total up to 5,500,000, 5,502,000. So, we could actually say 5,500,000.
So if you said 5.5.
Yeah.
And said, Ed, the town has approved 5.5, we can't go over that, so figure it out. We need to have a contingency. Let's get the number down low enough that we're comfortable with that contingency. And then we can enter a contract. I think we would be able to figure that out.
With the 5.2 million, with this
5.2,
including
yeah.
5.
Yeah. Correct.
Seems like we'd have a long ways to go to get there, find savings. We're gonna start lopping off garage bays and stuff.
I don't think we need to do that. I'm sorry, I wish I'd have brought that.
You start pouring
spreadsheet.
cisterns. If you put cisterns under buildings, you're gonna save a lot of money. Are you talking like poured concrete cisterns.
poured concrete cistern. And in this instance, it would basically be, the cistern would be, there'd be nothing else down below.
Mhm.
You remember at Vermont Country Store, we had the cistern and then the fire pump room was actually lower than the cistern.
That's because they pre-bought the fire pump. That was that fire pump couldn't draft. So that's why we had to put that down below.
That,
That-
well,
that
it's
particular fire
that
pump.
type of fire pump, right?
Yeah.
So for this project, we have a vertical turbine
Mhm.
fire pump. So basically it's a motor with this shaft that will go down into a tank.
Yep.
So the tank is just going to be the tank, nothing's down there. You know, if it leaks a little bit, you're not really going to notice because it's going to have an auto fill.
Yep.
You know, and it might seep. I mean, it's water. It's going to want to get out wherever it can, you know?
They seep. That's why.
So, but we build it, you know, the best we can. We have under drains, so if it does leak a little bit, the water runs away. It's not going to undermine it.
Yep.
And the fire pump is up out of it's at regular level. It's a better solution.
Yep.
I wish I had done that on Bridgewater, but
The steel tanks get expensive.
I have a question,
Yes.
and maybe I'm the ignorant one in the bunch. I know what a cistern is. Because I lived over in Japan and there were cisterns over. But what the hell are you talking about? The cistern at the fire department? I don't understand.
so, okay. So the state of Vermont requires that all emergency services buildings, police stations, fire stations, ambulance facilities be covered by an automatic sprinkler system, automatic fire protection system.
Okay.
So in order to have water for the sprinkler system, because there's no municipal water at this site,
Right.
we need to build in storage and a fire pump to provide that sprinkler
So
system.
you're catching rainwater.
No, we would be actually, we would fill it from the well. The initial fill, I'm thinking, is probably going to come from a tanker truck or somebody's going to bring water in and get that thing filled with, it's like 20,000 gallons.
Fire department training.
Yeah.
on Wednesday
There you
night.
go.
True, yeah.
Yep. So someone will have fun filling
Yeah,
that
they
up.
go to the creek.
That's how we did it down in Rockingham. The fire
Yep.
department came in and filled it.
So get that thing filled up. And then there will be a pump on that will allow the firemen to fill their trucks up, to fill the tanker truck up from the cistern. I think it's about a 5,000 gallon they can pull. And then it will automatically fill. You know, it'll a little bit at a time. You don't want to overwhelm the well, but it will fill itself back up, kind of like filling your swimming pool. If you have, you just throw the hose in it and, you know, it takes a little while, but it gets there. You just don't want it to go below the required amount of fire suppression water, which I think is like 15,000.
So the initial feed into it is water trucked into the cistern,
Correct.
but then the cistern refills itself from a faucet within.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
You might remember we drilled that well deeper. It's still not a very heavy, I think we're down 800 something feet with that.
I don't think there's a lot of
50, I think.
yield,
Is
but
it-
I think
The gallon a minute. if I
Is it?
remember
That
right.
whole area.
Yeah.
it's just a dry area. over
Built
there.
our house.
If we found savings, I would be a proponent of maybe trying to drill another well down over the hill and see if we could get better water. Better water for that facility would be a lot better.
So,
Later on.
well, another discussion that I heard something about, but I don't know where we are, the bulletproofing within the facility. What happened
So
with that?
we did plan on installing bulletproofing in the walls.
And and Ed said they didn't need that.
I didn't say that. JP said that.
Okay, well, where are we with it?
So
Had wrote a grant. Hopefully that'll come. If the grant comes through, it should.
that is exactly my understanding. Right now, that is still in the project. Until such time somebody says, no, we don't need it. And if you decide you don't need it, or you didn't get a grant, that's a potential, I think that's around $60,000. But, so Ted did write that grant. So if he gets the grant, we might as well do
Sure, okay,
and it makes sense to me if you think about it.
okay. Is JP on?
Yes.
All right, so JP, what's the number not to exceed? You're muted, so you're gonna have
It
to.
Martians.
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm
You're
unmuted
good,
now.
okay.
Okay, So, I reviewed these proposals with the four chiefs, and they were unanimous that the only changes that should be made in order to preserve the integrity of the design and the functionability of the building would be the steel vendor change and putting the cistern under the floor. Other than that, that building was well designed when it was first done, and they don't feel like we should be tinkering, nickel and diming that building because it's got to serve this community for a lot of years. That in mind, I was unaware of a 5% contingency because my hard number would be the original bid price minus $222,000. But if you got to add in 5% contingency, that's going to negate that deduction pretty much. But I mean, you got to go with what Ed says. If you need 5%, you need 5%. Now, along the way, obviously, if there are some common sense situations like the steel frame that Ed or the contractor discovers that can result in savings, of course, we'll take advantage of that. But to start tinkering with the intricacies of the design now to try and nickel and dime the building would in our view, would be a big mistake. We should stay with that, with only those two changes. And a lot of this, you know, the bulletproof walls, Kurt made a good point. And so we don't want those eliminated. And we don't want the building to be less functional than what it is right now. So we would hope the board would consider the original bid price minus the $222,000. I feel it's safe saying that, even though I know we could save another 30, maybe 35,000 on the cistern change. We'd have to wait and see, but it's a substantial savings. I don't want to predict that. I would just go with the hard number. We're happy. We know we can count on the 222, subtract that from the low bid, and then add in your 5%, and that's your number. And I
Okay,
think it's
so-
a very safe number.
Do you recall what the original bid was? Is that where the 5.24 comes in?
I think it was 5.435-ish.
This is net. This
And this, and the savings with the steel was like roughly 222. I'm sorry, I didn't bring that little spreadsheet.
It's 5462.
And so
5462.
5462.
Okay.
22 came 5240.
Yeah, so we're 5240
Okay.
plus our 5%.
So yeah, that's the number I gave to JP, and
So we're
that's the number he gave you.
5.5.
So we are, that number that was in our proposed draft, that's what that is, the 5.24.
Right.
That's already subtracting out the 222.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, and I think I just heard JP say, add the 5% contingent, or 5% contingent.
Yeah.
and can we confirm that the bulletproofing then is included in this number?
Yes.
Yes,
has
it
not
is.
been removed.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. The only two changes would be the cistern and the steel framing. That's it.
And the cistern will be a savings, but we don't know what it is.
It.
We don't know what it
yes.
is.
Okay.
And it's safe. I think it's safer just to assume that we're not going to have any savings, and then we'll be to the good. It'll help with any
Okay.
contingency.
It's a lot easier for maintenance in the long term of the building as well. to not
So
have the
I
steel
think we're
cisterns.
back to the 5.240 plus the 5%, which somebody please check my math. It's 262,000,
Right,
which brings us in at 5.5 million.
right.
So you've got your 5% contingency, and then that's the not to exceed number that we really hope we don't have to spend all that but everything is in there. And then if we get grants, that reduces it. If the cistern will be a reduction. We might not need the 5% contingency. That's a reduction. But so I guess I think you've answered my question, folks. But then the question the select board has is, do we want to go to the voters with this number?
you don't do it now, it's gonna cost them a lot more money if it's done even a year later, and I'm talking a lot more money.
It's
It's
as
really-
JP is correct. I mean, as anyone in construction knows it, I mean, nothing's ever cheaper than right now. Just, and it's insane. Right now, things are insanely expensive, but in 5 years, we might back and be like, look back and think, remember those days it was cheap. We thought it was expensive. It's the way it is. It's out of, unfortunately, my control. And I got to tell people stuff cost all this money. I'm like, well, I can't afford that. So they're not going to need an architect.
And we have an impossible situation with our police department. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
we do.
impossible. It has to be addressed. This is not something that we're choosing to do. This is something we need to do.
So questions from the other select board members?
So did we circle back to the math when we talked about the ballot language, or are you looking for us to make a decision on the number right now?
I guess we're probably going to be discussing about some of the financing and the other numbers with town council when he gets on at 7:30, but I think
We might,
this would be the question for the not to exceed number. I think this is the place we talk about that.
so we, in terms of a motion, we might as well just do one motion once we get this all hashed. Right?
Yeah, because we need to ultimately, we need a motion to adopt the whole ballot.
The ballot, the warning,
Question.
yeah,
So we'll just save a motion for that, I guess.
okay, so perfectly okay with me. It's only money. So any other questions for Ed while he's here? And thank you very much for coming in. We
Oh,
appreciate
I'm
this.
glad to. It's a
Mary,
pleasure.
can we schedule a building committee meeting at some point in time?
Yeah, do you
just
want it
make
for the public safety building
Yeah,
or a general
For
building?
the
committee?
public safety. committee?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
just so we can get some prints out in front of us and get everybody all up to speed. Matt's new and we haven't seen prints in a long time, and
okay.
just make sure everybody's all up to speed with everything.
Couple of weeks.
I'm not
And,
fussy.
and I did send along a request that someone said it might be great if we had some elevations that we,
Oh, yes.
word elevations that we could.
Yep. We
show the
have
voters.
those. We can we'll print those out and
Great,
put them on some boards or something. We did make some of those from before, so it'd be very easy for us to do. I just kind of forgot about it,
Oops.
but we can do it. Yep.
great.
JP mentioned that to me, so he did bring that up.
Because we've got to get those out there. We've got to get the voters understanding what they're voting on, and if they have a building to look at, I think they get it better.
Yeah, we have some boards, some elevations with colors on it, and then some floor plans, and
Okay,
we might even, I don't know if we have a 3D rendering or not, but
okay,
we got something.
good.
We'll put that together.
Got like popsicle sticks all glued together on a board.
Yeah,
You
just a
bring
little
it for
model,
us. Yeah.
foam core and all that.
2 weeks from now, it is 5 o'clock. Well, we've got everybody here. Do you happen to know your schedule? You probably don't.
I usually don't put anything on here. Usually just tells me when the Red Sox games are.
Okay, we'll check and make sure we're not conflicting with that.
So that'll be the 25th.
April
5 o'clock.
25th,
So right before our regular meeting.
before our regular meeting.
I'll bring some
How's-
drawings and I'll bring the renderings at that time.
Okay, so let's set a public safe, JP, are you okay with that?
Sure, that's great. The more information we can get out like that, the better.
Yes. Okay,
Did
The-
we put it on the Facebook page and try to get some people in here, or are we gonna
that's-
do that at a different meeting?
another part of the discussion, because we had talked about maybe getting a couple of public meetings so that we have a chance to, people, if we do a meeting 5 o'clock on the 25th, it's an open meeting. People are welcome to come to it.
Mhm.
But we also need to do some more informational meeting, at least one. And not just the one the night before we vote, but And then maybe some frequently asked questions, like the questions I just asked. Is the bulletproofing in or out? It's in. We're hoping to get grant money. If we don't get the grant money, it can come out, just stuff like that. Ted sent me some information about frequently asked questions from the last time, including the space in the police department. So we can use that, but this is all part of the process and the elevations, so people will know what it looks like. And the question about the retaining wall. So that sort of thing. Okay, any other questions? Any of the,
Good.
yeah, well, is Chris Clark on? Okay, Chris, do you have any questions?
Oh,
Okay,
No, I'm all set. Thanks.
okay, thanks. Can you make a meeting on April 25th at 5 o'clock?
I can make that happen. Yep.
Okay, good. Ed, is this okay with you? Okay, good. I think we have what we need and we got another meeting lined up. So thank you very much.
Sure,
Appreciate
my
you
pleasure.
coming in.
Okay, have a good evening. See ya.
You too. Oh, yes. So previous to this meeting, we interviewed two candidates for the two open lister positions. Since our last select board meeting, Lister Dean Davis resigned. So, and Howard Burgess had previously resigned. So Dean's term is up March of 2025. Howard's is up March of 2024. We interviewed two candidates for those positions, knowing that they're still going to have to run in the special election on May 23rd, and then again, either next March or the March after. So do you have a motion? Who's going to make the motion?
I think it was
Got this
Sharon.
all worked out.
Okay, so I make the motion that we hire both
Point.
candidates.
Appoint.
All right, appoint both candidates, and then knowing that one will have to run again in March and the other one won't have to, am I correct? Because I guess I thought they both had to run.
Well, they both have to run in May. Okay, and
so
the
it's
two
May.
candidates are,
The two candidates there are Mr. McCamley and Marie Peck Fabian.
okay. And I think we want to assign for the purposes of whose
Sure.
position they're
So
covering?
yep, I would include in that motion Marie for Dean's position and Mr. McCamley for the other open slot.
For Howard's, okay. All right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint as listers Jack McCamley to fill the vacant position of Howard Burgess, at least until the May 23rd special meeting, and Marie Peck Fabian to fill the position of Dean Davis until the May 23rd special election. Any discussion? They're both very well qualified. We were very pleased that they were interested. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries, and we've got two new listers, so thank you very much.
Howard, you're impossible to replace. You got so many years under your belt.
Thank you, Howard.
Thanks, Howard.
Okay, so just keeping an eye on the time, our town attorney will be joining us at 7:30 to go over a number of issues. But until then, I'm going to skip over the select board chair. Well, I'll do it really quickly. One is I attended a virtual meeting of the Rutland Regional Planning Commission about funding that may be available through MERP, Municipal Energy Resilience Program. And we're looking into the possibility of maybe applying for some grants to get some money to do some work both downstairs and to upgrade places like our highway garage. Okay, that was one. I have in the thought of getting information out to the voters so they can make an informed choice on May 23rd. I've talked with our fire chief and he's checked we will be holding, the fire department will be holding an open house at McKinley Station on Saturday, April 29th from 10 to noon. That's so folks can go and view what's there, what's not there. And hopefully we'll get some of the architectural drawings up there so that people can compare what's there now with what will be there. So that's one. And we're working with the police department to make available sometime probably at about 4:30 until a select board meeting at 6. So any voters can go and take a look at what we have for police office now. And again, make an informed judgment about that. More to come on those dates, but I wanted to coordinate with you folks. So that's what I have. Let's go down to, I think Mike Rowe is not available unless he's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is he on?
He will be, but he's not yet.
Okay. Because I have the committee meeting.
Okay, we'll get down to committee reports in a minute. Mike Delahanty, Town First Constable. This is much earlier than you usually.
I gotta get to the gate soon anyway.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Nothing big. We're 10 days into closing the gate at the park at dusk. I think the fresh air is putting some smiles on people's faces because there's been plenty of traffic up there, a lot of foot traffic, and I've seen a lot of dogs all on leashes. So thank you to the residents of the town and neighboring communities that are visiting our park and abiding by the rules. That's been great. Yeah, everybody's been great up there. So far, so good. I think maybe the Herald article helped. And people have seen it out on social media. So I think it's actually had a positive impact. So yeah, so far, so good. We're off to a good start. 10 days in, so we got a long way to go. But no, so far, so good. So that's it.
Questions of our first constable.
Almost only had to close that gate one night because I didn't realize I almost took it out the next morning.
Oops.
That's funny.
Okay, then. All right, thank you, Mike.
You got it, absolutely.
Chris Clark, Town Fire Chief.
Good evening.
Hi, Chris.
Not much as usual. Last couple weeks, we had 5 fire calls. I was going to talk about the open house on April 29th. I asked everybody, so that day should work. We were trying to plan on May 6th instead, because I know it's Green Up Day, but the parade is May 7th, and I couldn't get people to spend the entire weekend at the fire station. So that's why we're going with April 29th. So hopefully a lot of people will show up, and we'll go from there. Also, May 13th, it's a statewide open house. So they're trying to get every fire department in the state to have an open house on the same day to try to attract new members. So we're gonna participate in that also, and that'll be over in Center Rutland on May 13th. So other than that, that's all I got, unless you have a question.
Can we also put up designs, the whatever drawings we have over at your open house on May 13th?
We can put all that stuff up. Yes.
Great. Thank you very much. Good. Questions of our fire chief? Okay. Thank you, Chris. I'm glad things are slow.
Yeah, me too.
I know.
Thank you.
I know, I did. I said
Oh,
it.
you
I'm sorry.
Cursed it.
I did. All right. Just ignore that remark.
At least
I
it wasn't
know.
the Q word.
It's on me. All right, Marcia Chaffee, Town Lister.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to thank the board for their appointments of both Jack McCamley and Nicole not Nicole, Marie Fabian. I used to work with Nicole Fabian on United Way, so I get the two of them confused. And and I thank you. We're really getting into a crisis time here, and between migrating to a new system. And I think I've already told you what's happening with VT Pi, so I won't get into it again. But I did get a better feeling from listening to the Senate Government Operations testimony today that they are really listening to us.
Good.
And hopefully it was a lot better than what we got from the House Ways and Means and House Appropriations. And I have a really good feeling that with a conference committee this summer, that we will be able to come up to a resolution with the state reappraisals.
Okay, good. So it doesn't sound like if they're talking about something this summer, that means nothing's going to happen this year.
No, they're going to have a study committee. We're looking out to 2026. So everything that's happening, I think they're going to put a moratorium on any reappraisals of the 166, communities that have to reappraise. So that's a good thing.
Okay, well, thank you, Marcia, and thank you for coming in to our 5 o'clock meeting.
Absolutely.
We left it open session, and Marcia kind of gave the two candidates for Lister an overview of what the job entails, and it was also a good briefing for the select board too. So we appreciate that. Thanks, Marcia.
Well, if now that we have, approved the appointments of both Mr. McCamley and Marie Fabian, tomorrow I do have a webinar with VT Pi for the CAMA and current use. If either one of them would like to join me, it's going to be at, I think it's at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, I think Bill has their contact information for both, so he'll get that
Okay.
to you. And if they can, it's
Good.
nice to invite them. So thank you.
Absolutely. And there's
Okay,
a lot of webinars coming up for new listers and so forth. So
Other select board members have any questions or comments of Marcia? No. Okay. Thanks again, Marcia.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, Carrie Clark, town clerk and treasurer, and she is in the room.
Hello.
Hi, Carrie.
I'll go quick tonight. So few reminders. There are petitions that are due next Monday if you wish to be on the ballot for our special election. And that requires signatures of voters that are active voters. 30 is the number for the signatures, and consent of candidate form, and that has to be in to me by 4:30 Monday afternoon.
And what's the date of that?
April 17th.
Okay. Thank you.
Second reminder, we're getting close to the last tax installment, and that's due May 10th, as it usually is every year. So just a reminder for those that pay and not escrow, and they have to come in, that will accept payment up until the 10th. And just that friendly reminder of probably don't want to miss that one, because the penalty is pretty hefty the day after. No one's ever happy with me that day. Third reminder, those that have signed their child up for baseball using the new online format that Bill created for us. It does give them that reminder that they need to either mail in, come into the office, or give Mike Rowe payment for their baseball. And there's several outstanding payments still. So I just wanted to make that as a reminder, if anyone's listening to this or reads our minutes, or perhaps Mike hears me talking, maybe he can get that word out in the school as well. I know he's tried up to this point as well, but there's still several outstanding. And then just the last thing, I didn't know if we wanted to just update what we talked about at the personnel/financial committee that we had on Friday of last week. And how you wanted me to do that, or if you guys
Okay.
wanted to do it.
And there's one other thing. So let me also thank you for providing the printout that shows our money in and somewhat used for the McKinley Avenue Public Safety Building.
Welcome.
That's item D in your packet. It occurred to us that we were gaining interest on the ARPA money.
That was pretty.
That was super.
I don't know if you wanted to talk to
Would
that.
you,
for
yeah,
quickly.
if the select board members would pull out the, it's a 2-pager, I think. Use it in color. How did you do that? Huh. Okay.
Mine's
fine.
a color too.
Huh. Okay. So why don't you walk us through?
Color
it?
really
Works a
throws
lot
off.
better.
It's a lot better.
Here, let me give you some knowledge.
I
In color.
I
Here,
don't
no,
have
you can
that
take
in
because I do have.
front of
Oh,
me.
well, then pass it up to,
Yeah, I didn't know that that was included in anything that you guys were looking at.
yes, thank you.
I will want it back after, but.
Yes.
Well, you certainly can have it back. So just a quick kind of glimpse at what this is showing us is obviously in each column are the monies that we allocated at first to get this started and to use throughout the new public safety building. And to remind people that aren't looking at this, we started with using the remainder of, no, I'm sorry, we started using the $30,000 that was a lawsuit settlement that was for the Rutland Fire Station. So I kept track of the 30 coming in and what we could use until that depleted.
I want to look at mine.
It's okay.
It's not in color, but.
We have a little bit of money left in that. I'm just kind of waiting for an invoice or another clerk of the works, kind of the smaller amounts to use
Oh, okay.
that up. There's about $1,500 in there left to use, and a lot of the invoices that come aren't that small. So I can't use that money. When we depleted that, we had some money left over from the original Center Rutland bond. It was just a little over $54,000 to be exact. It was $54,679. And we used that right up. We do have $85 left over there. Again, it's a small amount, but nothing really seems to come through that small. So we moved then, and what we are currently in is the funds that were given for ARPA. And to remind people, we were granted $1.2 million, little over that, for our ARPA funds. So we are currently using that. We have used about almost 60 grand of that money. And we have about almost 1.2 million left to use. And when that's depleted, we'll move over to the last portion, which was the capital improvements that was on the ballot that people approved of. So those figures are in each column at the bottom. I wanted to speak to what brought us here was Mary mentioned the interest. It's pretty significant these days. The interest that some of our accounts are accruing. For us on our side, it's great for people that are going out for loans. It's not so great, but we can say yay on our side because having ARPA funds of $1.2 million sitting in an account, since we've opened it, we've earned a little over 10 grand in interest on that money. So that's 10 grand extra
Right.
that we can
Yes.
use on the building.
Yep.
And that's, I think, pretty awesome. And
do too.
it's every month it's earning that amount of money. It's, I'm gonna say between $4,000 or $5,000 interest each month. It's pretty significant right now. So we can, on this side of things, we can be happy. So as you can see, we haven't used any of the capital improvements yet. And I do believe that the number that's up in the red in the corner is how much we've spent on the building so far. So almost $133,000 in costs. Basically, we can say that. So that's how to read that. And I keep updating this every time we have invoices or pay someone. This time around in your orders, we didn't have anybody to pay for the public safety building.
Okay.
So it's going to remain this way until we get a change.
Okay, so these were all, I mean, the ARPA funds, we've already got voter approval. Well, we actually took the ARPA money in as lost revenue, which we were allowed to do. And then we designated that pool of lost revenue for the
That's right.
the fire station, fire police facility. And then we've already got voter approval to use it for that. We've already got voter approval to use 771,000 out of our capital fund from 2021. Yeah. So whatever's accumulated in the capital fund since then that hasn't otherwise been used is also available. And all of these figures were, this is what Joe was spinning off, which
Yes,
is
he
really
was.
what yeah. What, so we'll talk more about this when we're on with our town council, but there are some funds available to keep the bonding or other financing, and that's another issue, as low as we can. So there we are. Thank you. This is good stuff. Now, let's take up our committee report for the Personnel and Finance Committee while Carrie is here. And Matt Getty's on that committee, so have at it, Matt. Carrie.
Yeah, but you took all the notes.
No, but Bill did. So you got the minutes there.
Okay. So where did we start here? Personnel policy. We talked about the personnel policy. We scratched the surface of the personnel policy.
Sure
We will
did.
probably talk about it a lot more, but one thing we did cover was the concern expressed by the police department about our disciplinary provision and how it applies to them and how it would conflict with other policies. So there was I guess this is an action item. Yes. All right. So we had a proposal to amend the disciplinary section to add the following sentences, quote, to the extent that state law governing police disciplinary action conflicts with the policy, state law will govern or preempt, close quote. It's one sentence with a comma that looks like a period in the middle.
Yeah, they're hearing you.
Ed, did you catch that? All right, one
Okay.
more time. So we're proposing to add the sentence to read, to the extent that state law governing police disciplinary action conflicts with the policy, state law will govern or preempt. And just to clarify, I guess, for the other members who weren't there, the policies that you are following, are those set by the Department of Public Safety or
Yeah, most policies that come down now are come down from the legislature and goes to public safety, state police, if you will, and we adopt those policies that the state wants to adopt. A lot of that, their use of force, use of our cameras, everything that we have used is controlled by the state at this point.
so then I guess I will make a motion that we amend the personnel policy as stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Discussion. This is to, Lynette Gallipo brought this to our attention, and we didn't want to run afoul of state law governing disciplinary procedures for police officers, which is different than what we have in our policy. So hence the motion. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of amending the personnel policy with this sentence, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so there's been other discussion about reviewing some provisions in the policy for consistency, and we will be discussing those some more,
Yes.
possibly at some point with an outside expert, because Mary and I both don't feel like HR experts. But Bill's gonna ask for some additional help from the League of Cities and Towns, and we'll see where we get with them. Go from there. Let's see. Do we need to make a decision, Mary, on the issue of the vacation accrual calculation?
I think we do, yes.
Okay, so the issue here is that we have some employees whose job anniversary date coincides with the fiscal year, and some that coincide with the election year, depending on whether they're elected or hired, or I suppose hired at some other time during the year, right? So they're all over the place. And at some point in their years of service, they accrue additional vacation time. And so the question is, what should happen if additional time is accrued due to an anniversary date that occurs partway through a fiscal year?
Right.
That?
Yes.
So our suggestion, I think from our committee, was to prorate the additional time to either be 2 days or 3 days, I think, depending on whether they're more than halfway through the fiscal year, essentially, right?
So if it's, I think the bottom line is we go by the anniversary date of hire if it's an employee, and if it's an elected official, the anniversary date of their election. I think that covers the problem, right? Mhm.
Well, so if the anniversary date comes up in, say, it's April now, so let's say it comes up in April before the end of the fiscal year, do they accrue a whole additional week that can be used within the remaining fiscal year?
That's where your proration comes in.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so.
I think that's what his, I
Okay.
think to me, that was a form of a question, like,
I was hoping it was a form of emotion.
well,
Okay,
that's
so
it.
let me
Okay.
see if I can attempt to rephrase that.
I think we should see it written into the policy before we try to vote on it.
Well, we've got 1, 2, 3 employees who are trying to figure out whether they should use up accumulated days before the end of this fiscal year. And the sooner we let them know, the better, I think is.
So let's get it done.
So I think, the motion would be to amend the policy to clarify that if the employee anniversary date results in additional accrued vacation time in the middle of a fiscal year, that the additional time, and I'm assuming these occur in 1 week chunks.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
the additional time would accrued would be 2 days if yeah, well, let me think about that.
Can you just say prorated instead of worrying about the number of days? Because it will vary depending upon how long the employee.
Okay,
is
sure. Would be prorated based on the elapsed time in the fiscal year. Does that make sense?
So,
And then we should probably at some point have that spelled out in the policy
Right.
on
Well,
how many days accrue to have what, and that all should in the future be spelt out. That way Carrie's not sitting there with a sheet of paper.
Going.
And also, it's not just me.
That's trying to figure
it's
out.
good information for anybody
Yeah,
reading
right.
this too. It's just
Yeah.
black and white. This
Yeah,
is
but it
what
comes
it
down to
is.
you as the bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah. when
Well,
somebody's
that'll
trying to-
eliminate that.
Yes, I know. That's why we need it written in policy.
well, Carrie raised something
What, you don't like
interesting
poison
too.
pen letters?
I mean, she does get, employees get, when they get paper paychecks, there's a
Yes.
stub attached and Nemrick prints out what their accumulated vacation and sick time is. But when it's electronically deposited, Nemrick doesn't provide that information, which is crazy.
You can't print off a stub?
So the
No.
stub prints, but the information is not the same as the information on a printed check. So
course
my
it's not.
job is to look into that and
Yep.
figure out if that's something that we can change on our end, if they can help me do that, or if that's a suggestion that Nemrick needs to take into account.
Oh, jeez.
So I know, it's just when you think you got a little problem solved, there's,
Right.
yeah.
That will also eliminate any questions when that gets solved.
Yep.
So, Madam Chairwoman, do we
I
have a
suppose
second?
Nemrick was designed by the state.
Was the motion seconded?
Second.
Okay, thank you for the reminder. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
You're gonna haze me by making me do personnel motions in my first meeting. I'm gonna.
But we
Right
both
time.
sat in the personnel committee meeting and we both admitted that we really hated personnel matters, so.
Well, I don't miss it.
That bump you heard was the bus rolling over. All right, what else do we talk about? Okay, well, I guess the last item probably that, well, I don't know, maybe the last item Carrie cares about is we talked about doing periodic financial reports.
Yeah.
So Carrie has agreed she can, at every other meeting, provide us with financial reports showing where each budget category is year to date relative to budget, so that committees and department heads can review those throughout the year and keep track of where we are. So that would be very helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to the system that was in place way back when I first joined the select board, and it had been a policy. And a lot of nonprofits use it too. It's just like a snapshot of, oh, highways overspending their budget. What's the issue? So,
Yeah.
so for
Really?
example, to pick on somebody in the room. So it will give us a better handle on where our numbers are and what we might need to adjust as the policymakers for the select board. That's all.
And on that same exact note, if I'm up here, my job will be when those reports come out every other time, I will go over any significant things that I may see. And obviously, I would assume that any department head would already know where their budget stands anyway, so it wouldn't be any surprise if I'm up here and, I see something and I'll report it out. It's not against any department, it's
Right.
just pure facts. It's something that they probably already know about, so. That will
Okay.
be what I'll do. for
Thank you.
guys. Yeah, absolutely.
So in addition, we've discussed the employee review process in the handbook. No decision was made on that at this point. And we discussed creating job descriptions for various positions, at least the department heads, and I guess the ask there is for department heads to begin by drafting their own job descriptions that committees can then review and discuss and tweak.
So highways got it made because you've got one you were hired under, so a couple of months ago, you're all set.
Believe me, there's stuff that's missing out.
Bet there is. I bet.
How else do you think we're gonna suck you into it? We can put all the job description on it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Good meeting, and thank you both. Thanks for falling under the bus.
Oh, you're welcome.
appreciate that. Okay, so that with that summary of what we're now looking forward to receiving from you, I think we'll be better on top of the budget process. So thank you.
I think so too. It'll be nice. And that's all I had. Thank you for reporting out.
Any other questions for our town clerk or treasurer? So we've got a April 17th deadline coming up.
We do.
For ballots,
We do.
and then we need to finalize the language for the warning, which hopefully we'll be working on in about 5 minutes.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
I'll
else?
leave all my other stuff for I was looking at what the ballot could look like, and I'm wondering how I'm going to fit 6 positions on one piece of paper, but maybe we can make the paper larger. It'll fit into the
It'll fit.
envelope.
It'll fit. You can do the back side. And just, we'll have to remind voters to turn the thing over. Oh, and then okay. Whatever.
Option.
You're good
It's
at
an
this stuff,
option.
but yep.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you come back? You didn't turn it over.
Okay. What's next? Barbara Noyes Pulling. Hi, Barbara.
Hey, good evening. So we'll try to squeeze a little information in here in the few minutes remaining. The update on the subdivision ordinance is almost done. We now need to do a summary of all of the changes that we did, and that's going to take a little time in and of itself. And I believe the town attorney advised Bill that the planning commission needs to be part of the approval process with the subdivision ordinance. So it needs to, okay. So we'll be doing a public hearing on that and voting on that and then sending it to you.
Okay.
Good. And then the only other thing I have is that we have the draft short-term rentals ordinance and the form that people will fill out. And we will have an informational meeting with the planning commission and with the public to get comments or ideas about that before we finalize that. We'll hear what, we'll put in what we hear from the meeting and then send it back to you. And, just as a reminder, that ordinance will include, registration and annual report and some penalties and the like. But we were going to start doing the publicity for that informational meeting, which will be, we're hoping May 11th at 6:30. It's a Thursday evening, May 11th. And just to start getting the word out about that ordinance and maybe get some ideas for what might not be in there.
Okay. Good. Thank you. And thank you for the good information on MERP. I love saying that word. The energy resilience grants money that is out there, and Barbara's been on top of it and helping steer the town towards some opportunities there. So thank you very much.
Hopefully so. Right. Okay.
Any
That's all I
questions for
have.
Barbara? Select board members, all set? So Sharon, good?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Okay, thank you.
Dave Sears, Town Road Commissioner. Since we've mentioned you several times already, you may as well come up and defend yourself.
Can do that. Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Matt, welcome to the big top.
And all the clowns in it.
What's your special trick?
Apparently it's not committee reports.
Lying down under buses.
There we go. Since the last meeting, we've just been doing a lot of maintenance, really. We finished servicing most of all of our off-road equipment. Changed the oil and greased, everything's all ready to go. The winter equipment, I bought some salt neutralizer. We mix it 3 parts to water, 3 parts water to 1 part of this stuff. Spray everything down and just kind of neutralizes the salt. So we did all of the sanders, all the trucks inside the frames and everything, just trying to keep some of this stuff clean because that salt is the worst stuff for it. So we spent a lot of time in the last 2 weeks doing that stuff, just getting everything cleaned up and put away. Started painting some wings and some plows, getting ready for townwide celebration. So we're kind of on our way there. We made our last payment to our contractors and this was the fuel stipend for the year. So that the combination of the 3 payments, because it's 1 contractor, but 3 trucks. So that payment total was $1,383.69 for the fuel stipend. So combining that with what we paid them in the beginning of the season, we paid basically Hubbard Brothers $3,964.16 for a fuel surcharge, I guess is a better word. I'm not sure what the best word is. So that's done for the season. Hopefully we're done for the season. We're working on planning to start the post road sidewalk. We got some mailboxes and some plow damage and stuff to clean up, so we're looking to maybe start that May 1st-ish, somewhere around there. Working on trying to get an easement for the property next to the school. And I believe we're gonna talk about that in a minute, or when we get the town attorney on here, because we need some easement paperwork, whatever that looks like. We started today, we started working on the shared use path again, now that we can get down there without sliding off into the woods. So that's kind of like a little filler thing, we're just in between stuff, and we're doing that. And my last thing is about a month ago, we posted the new employee job description, or the new employee applicate, or new employee. I'll get it.
Announcement of job opening.
There we go. Opening. That's the word. I was looking for a big word. As of now, I believe we only have like 1 application. So we did it on like 13th or the 15th of last month. I was gonna leave it open for a month, but with only getting 1, I'm probably gonna let it hang out there and try to get it into a couple other places and see what we can come up with. And that's where I am.
Questions from select board members?
The second new plow truck here yet?
Not yet.
Someday.
I knew when we got the first one, we weren't gonna get any more snow.
Yeah.
So that was a victory.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me, don't ask this question, but what's the call out number?
Oh.
I'll jinx it.
42.
Oh, there's gonna be no jinx.
42. And it was 43 before extra payments.
43 is the extra payments.
All right. Okay, good.
Pretty easy winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Green up bags in yet? Should have asked Carrie. They are? Oh, wonderful. Okay. I got
I never
dibs
saw
on
anybody
Creek
get
Road.
so excited about garbage bags.
Hey, I got dibs on Creek Road and it's a mess, so I'll be over to get mine. Thank you. Okay.
So if, in regards to that, if people do pick them up and leave them beside the road or wherever they leave them, if they could just let us know where they are so we can go get them and they're not out there for a month. Because we're
Okay.
not on every road all the time, so we
Okay.
just need to know where they are and we go grab them up.
So it's okay for people to green up early and just call you and let you know there's some bags out there?
Yeah, cause it's normally what, the Monday after green up day, you drive around town,
Yeah.
pick them all up,
Yeah, okay, all right,
which is.
good. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
And we've already done JP, I think.
Well, he's not on anymore.
Okay, so that takes care of that.
Kevin's on.
Kevin's on. Can we do Ed really quickly? And then we're done with department heads except for Bill, and he has to stay here anyway. Yeah,
Are you gonna wanna do the committee or not? The recreation?
we do have to do it, but we've got Kevin on the,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you guys get a copy of this?
Yep.
That's a good man. So we had 64 calls of service, 2 traffic stops. I don't know if you got a copy of the stats for the month for the south end. We do this here once a month when this that first. We don't get a copy, I'll give it to you. I probably shouldn't send it to you. So at a total this month for March, excuse me, not this month.
Yeah.
There was 179 total calls, 130 were in the south end. Last month it was, or February, it was 124 total calls, 93 in the south end. So the February percentage was 75% in the south end. March's percentage was 73% in the south end. We did 50 more, almost 50 more calls in the south end we did last time, but it shows a lower percentage just the way, because we had more calls in the other parts of the town. Well, we had definitely had a lot more calls in the town on the south end last time. I heard rumors that the Cortina was going to become a permanent homeless shelter, so I called up Neil. I had to talk to him about something else, the fence, and asked him about that, and he assured me that this time the money's drying up in the end of June, and no, he's not going to have a permanent homeless shelter down there. So
Okay,
we'll see.
Yeah.
That's all I have, really.
okay.
Holiday Inn in South Burlington.
Yeah,
But what? Turn it into a.
permanent, yeah,
Also, I was
they can
asked
keep it.
to talk about the policy, the personnel policy. Apparently, we weren't really prepared to, so you guys have another meeting at some point in time where Lynn, I guess everybody's gonna get whatever, not gripes, but concerns they may have, they'll bring them up to you. You have another.
okay,
other
yeah,
person, 'cause
okay. Gotcha. So if we have a personnel policy, another, which.
Meeting.
Committee meeting.
I think Matt really enjoys.
We'll
these.
invite you folks to come in and
What's
talk
on
with
his
us.
face?
We recover from the last one that we had.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. That's all I have.
Okay. Questions of our police chief? Okay,
Perfect.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Sharon, how are you holding up, and do we need to do anything to get you out of here, or are you okay for a
I'm
while?
okay.
Okay, good, thanks. So we have Town Council Kevin Brown on via Zoom, and I believe he has a number of issues he wants to review to give us his attorney advice. So this will be attorney-client privilege. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of getting advice from our town attorney?
Don't move.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you, please. Okay, we're back on the record. We're finished conversations with our town attorney, and we are closer to drafting a warning for the special town meeting about the McKinley Avenue Fire Station. But what we're going to do are double checking numbers, and Kevin's going to get another draft to us. And we want, Bill, if you could please set a special meeting of the select board for next week, Monday, April 17th at 5 p.m. And it will be for the purpose of finalizing the warning for the special town meeting. And you can toss any other business on, but that's primarily what it's going to be. Okay. And I think that takes care of what we needed to cover from that. Ed Dumas has reported. So Mike Rowe, Town Rec Director.
How are you?
Hi, sorry to keep you
So
up.
how was that? That enjoyable, Matt? Welcome aboard officially. It's getting greener, so that means I'm gonna start to mow. The pool cover comes off Friday,
Aha.
and I'll start cleaning that up and getting that ready to go for our targeted opening like we always, just after Memorial Day. And we had a committee meeting and
Yes.
we talked about I don't know, did you say anything or you waited?
No, they didn't allow me to.
Oh, so we
They kept
talked
pushing
about
me to the
a
back
lot
the
of
bus.
things at committee, of just of upcoming things we're gonna do and what have you. We did talk about the concerns with off-leash dogs and cleaning up at the park, and we're going to just basically send out for more signage and just better conversation with people. I'm putting up some new dog disposable sites that are better than what we have. We had nice ones, but they broke. I mean, people broke them and trashed them. So we'll see how long these last. We have a couple of we have one citizen that we're putting together a dog day with training and vendors, and that's going to be on the 20th of May. So we're going to move forward with that. We'll have more information. We'll put it on the website and on Facebook for people to come check out. But that's just to be more proactive for the dogs. And we'll just see how the signage and stuff works. And maybe people will just basically follow the rules that are in existence.
Our first constable reported he's now going up and locking up at night, that he has seen a number of dogs and they're all on leashes. So the word that the committee has been getting out and that you've been getting out seems to be working, we hope. At
And
least
that's our
preliminarily.
goal.
Yeah.
And we just want people to enjoy the park, but just follow the rules. So we haven't established any other steps in our committee meeting. We just talked about getting that first and then going in that direction. And Sharon can quickly read off stuff if she wants from the meeting. unless
No,
you
you're
want me to
covering
Keep
it.
going. What else was on there? I forgot. It's been a long day.
The mulch.
Yeah, we're putting in swings, which I purchased a while ago, which arrived a little while ago. So we'll be putting in swings up at the park at Northwood, right near the existing one, the existing playground.
Okay.
So we'll put in 2 swings. And so that'll be done, and we'll finish up with our fill for the chips, the rubberized chips,
yeah.
rather than that. So we don't have to worry about that forever. Rather than annually putting in the wood chips, and it's just more cost effective to do this over time, one-shot deal. So we're doing that. What else? The tennis nets and all that stuff will be up this coming week when I'm on vacation. Not really on vacation, but when I'm working up there, everything will get ready for the spring. The fields are getting ready. Maintenance truck has started over there. I've already started at the park doing getting the fields ready for middle school baseball and our other baseball programs that are starting in the next couple of weeks. What else did I have on there?
As far as a lady is putting a petition out for the dog
Yes,
park.
I was informed that some ladies are putting out a petition for a dog park in Rutland town,
Okay.
which that's great. I found that information third hand. They didn't come to me directly and say, hey, I will tell you, I don't really know of any spots at the park that we could put a dog park because of the school side, town side split at the park. And I don't think, though they have, and I haven't talked to them, but I can envision where they're thinking it would be wonderful, and we don't own that. And I can't see the other party agreeing to putting up a dog park on their parcel, but one would never know until we have a conversation.
And we haven't budgeted for it, so it would be
No.
an expense that.
No, and that's an expense that after what we paid for the fencing just at Dewey, I can only fathom the cost of fencing in an area. And maybe it's donated, maybe it's, I don't, who knows? I'm up for anything. I just heard that that was coming. So if you hear that, I heard that secondhand, that
Okay.
people are doing that petition. I don't have anything to do with it, but I'm not against it at all. I just,
All right, we'll
It's not
just
for
wait
me.
and see if a
Yep,
petition
see what
comes in.
happens.
Yeah, okay.
what else did I have on there?
This is a combination rec admin and rec committee report, so.
Essentially, yes, I'm just reciting what we talked about the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, for our meeting, and I think that's pretty much it.
And you talked about treatment for the fields.
Yes, so our backfields are. Our backfield, it looks like a sandbox. It's probably sand. Grass doesn't really grow much there anymore. It did, and then all of a sudden, over the years, it's really deteriorated. Byron and I put in fertilizer for a couple of years, and that seems sorta, and then the grubs got in, and once the grubs got in, then the skunks got in, and then now it's over. And so I have reached out to a local town resident who also has a big lawn care company. And we're just in the middle of figuring that out, like if it's a cost, if he's able to do it because it is a public park, what the
Right.
requirements are, because I can only use so many certain chemicals and
Yes.
things at the park, because it's a public park, other than your private yard, where you can pretty much do what you want. So that might be coming down the stretch, and there was talk of cost, and I have more than enough money in, that would be a depreciation item to redo the field. But I would think that would fall under,
Probably.
I mean, something needs to be done. It's depreciated.
Yeah.
So that was talked about, and there's more than enough money to even do something small in the depreciation fund. So.
Questions?
Bikes.
Yes, e-bikes. Someone brought up about e-bikes at the park on the trails. And we have, and there was, it's a discussion of an e-bike, but it is technically a motorized vehicle, which we do not allow on like our playing surfaces. Like you can't take your four-wheeler out there. So that's kind of, after thinking about it, that's interesting to have e-bikes on the trails. Don't really know if we want that. I don't.
This is on any trails, including the main loop, for
The
example.
main loop, yeah. I mean, if they want to e-bike on the road, sure, go right
Okay,
ahead. But
sure.
if they start going on the trails, and our mountain biking trails, which are also starting the end of June and will be finished around middle of October, end of October. I've already chatted with him, so that's all scheduled. So for an e-bike on a mountain biking trail, I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And I will call over to Kim to see if they allow it Pine Hill, because we're essentially in that same kind of boat.
Yeah.
But just so you know, I don't think we should allow e-bikes on any kind other than pavement at the park.
Yeah, as one of the walkers up there, I mean, I appreciate the tranquility. I've seen the occasional biker, not e-bike, and they truck along in good shape, but
They do.
yeah,
An e-bike,
yeah,
I mean, then that's kind of like right down that's almost like a legal, it's motorized,
yeah.
but it isn't, but it only has so much power, but it does more than human power. I don't know. So that's something we might have to discuss
Okay.
later, but for right now, I would say no. And, on the trail part of the park, I mean, on the road, go ahead, knock yourself out.
Do we need anything about that?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
It says
what's
no
the committee's
motorized
recommend?
vehicles.
I say we don't allow them. Number one, they're motorized. I don't think they should, in my opinion, I don't think they belong at Northwood.
Yeah.
I don't think on the tar or anything else. If you got little kids walking up from one area to another, and you got, it's one thing if it's an adult that got their together, but if you start getting kids hell raising on those bikes, and you got little kids around, or people with their dogs up there, the dogs are gonna start barking. I just don't think it's safe.
I don't know that those are concerns compared to your standard bike. I think the issue would be more of safe speed on the trails and the impact that they could have on the, on the trail itself, particularly in the hills. If somebody's gunning the battery to go up climb a hill and they're spinning a
They're gonna
tire and
spray the
whatnot,
dirt.
and it's gonna make a mess, I would think. Now, I don't mind delaying decision to get input from somebody like him or
I'm all for
somebody
it.
like
too.
that, who knows more about it, but I'm sort of disinclined to allow it myself at this point.
I think it warrants just some more research. But I think for now, the answer, there is no motorized vehicles, and I think that would classify
Right.
as a
Okay.
motorized vehicle, because then you got kids that will go on their scooters that are motorized and start thinking they can do the trails, and then we're, at what point, it's a fine line,
Yeah.
between like a gas powered or a battery powered. Well, motorized is kind of, in my eyes, motorized is motorized to a certain extent when you throw the word motor in there.
So right now, the
Mhm.
policy is no motorized vehicles.
Correct.
And we're interpreting e-bikes as motorized vehicles.
I would for right now, for the time being.
Okay, until you
But
get
that's
research done.
up to you. That's up to you.
We can leave it at that, or we can make a motion to clarify. What's your desire, folks?
I make a motion that we don't allow any motorized vehicles other than cars coming into the facility at Northwood. Just for safety issues.
Is there a second?
I can't.
Motion fails for lack of a second. So we've got. There's another way of doing it. And that's just to reiterate our policy of no motorized vehicles, and an e-bike is one,
You can table it.
or table it.
I would say you table it until you have the other two,
Yeah.
and then we can have a conversation. And I can do some research in the interim, checking with the
So-
city, see what they do.
We need a motion
from
to
there.
table that.
Yeah, but I'll vote with you, so.
Yeah, I want to get you home. I want to go. I think that's all I had there.
Okay. So you folks all good
Matt,
with
is there
tabling
anything?
this? We'll do it fairly informally. Table it
Yeah.
for next meeting.
I don't care.
Okay,
Don't ask me anymore.
well, we do have to, Sharon, because we're down to 3 folks here, so. Bill, if you could put it on the agenda for next meeting, please. Okay, thank you. All right, I think that's it. Any questions for
No,
Mike?
did I miss anything, Matt?
So
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay, thank you very much.
You need a ride home tonight, my dear? No?
I drove.
Okay.
All right, so we haven't heard from Bill Sweet. We
Thank
have
you
a few
anyways.
items from him.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, so not much left. A
Yeah.
lot to go over. Couple of things on your desk for me. You have a letter that got just this afternoon on behalf of the Crowley Road Race, the Crowley Brothers Memorial Road Race. They're asking for permission to have their course go down Route 3 as they have in years past. Goes from Proctor down into the city. They did provide us with an insurance certificate. If there were any issues, so we have that as well, but this is something we have done in the past.
So what do we usually do? Just
Make a motion
Make
to
a
allow
motion to
them
approve?
to use our town as part of their route.
So moved.
motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to authorize Crowley Road Race to use town roads.
Excellent.
Okay,
Wait
a minute, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, so I have the list of special meeting things coming up. So we now have April 17th at 5. We have April 25th at 5 is now the Public Safety Building Committee meeting. We just talked about that
At
before.
5, correct?
Okay,
Mhm.
May 22nd, you want to have a pre-vote meeting.
Yes,
Okay, do we have a time for that? And a place?
well, people expect it at the school, don't they?
I don't think they're expecting it at all. So
And that, I mean, the warning has to have this. So I'm thinking that people are used to going to a pre-meeting, or am I wrong about that? Before, like the night before the town meeting.
Town
vote.
meeting, yeah. I mean, we don't do very many special elections, so I don't know how much expectation there is around it one way or the other. I don't disagree with it could be beneficial,
Yeah.
but
Um,
it's because that complicates things because May 23rd is a select board meeting night.
so we would have to have our select board meeting. Well, we've got to move our select board meeting
Anyway.
anyway. So let's do our select board meeting on the night before.
Okay,
Let's do it at the school. Let's do the same thing, the
Okay.
same way. Select board meetings usually are like 5 o'clock, and then the pre-town meeting is, do you want to do it as late as?
we
7?
do a abbreviated board meeting, so
Yeah.
it's critical information and move
Yeah.
on, so.
Okay, so 5 to, and it's traditionally 7 o'clock, Mr. Moderator.
We can, we did 6, we actually did 6 for the January meeting, and then we did 7 for in March.
What's your pleasure?
Day are we talking about now?
May 22nd.
Oh, now, but we were doing another info meeting for that too, right?
Yes, we've got to try and,
Well, the April 25th is a committee meeting for the public safety building.
right,
And then May 22nd, we had talked about having a pre-vote town meeting. And then May 23rd is the voting day.
so the select board shouldn't really be meeting,
Yeah, it's not
so
gonna
we'll
be
meet on the 22nd.
really no way to do it, so. So we can do the board meeting at 5
Mhm.
with the pre-vote meeting immediately following the conclusion of the board meeting.
We still have to set a time because
Yeah.
most people won't want to come to the select board meeting.
I want to say 6 or 6:30, maybe 6:30.
7?
Well, are you saying this is supposed to be a super short select board meeting?
When we've
It has
done,
been.
most years, the board meeting falls on town meeting day. And so we move the board meeting to the night before at the school for the pre-town meeting. And we start at 5 o'clock and we go till like 6:30. It's just a short meeting. So it's like, if it's not critical, it gets pushed to the next meeting.
So why can't we do that at 5 and
We
at
certainly
6?
can.
Do the pre-town meeting?
We certainly can.
Okay with me. Okay,
Okay, so, pre-vote meeting at 6, special board meeting at 5.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, done.
and yes, we do have to find another, and we won't do it tonight, but we have to find another informational meeting, hearing, whatever. Which will probably be early May.
Okay,
Might even be, I don't know, but I'll leave that to you. So we should do one more.
for the public safety
Yeah,
building,
Public
up
saving.
there.
Chris Howland.
Okay. Chris?
We're mailing out all these ballots. This is unusual for
Yeah.
the pre-town meeting the night before. If we mailed out all the ballots, they would be back in the clerk's office by Monday night. But I'll hang up.
Well, yes, we're mailing out the ballots. That doesn't mean everybody will return them. And many people, we still are providing for all day voting the next day. So we're just trying to keep in line with what we've done in the past.
Right.
That hence the,
I just
yeah.
wanted to flag up the difference. This is the first time we've mailed out town ballots. Thank you.
town ballots. Yes,
Thanks
that's
for
correct. Thank you,
recognizing.
Chris. Okay.
There is the appointment thing. But one of the topics that didn't make it on there. I called Eric Carrera today. He is the person that Don had called to say, hey, can you help us do fireworks instead of North Star? There is a problem. He does not have an ATF license. He has a partner that does and can use his. However, that person is not going to be in state and he cannot do it. He said he called on Friday to check the status of his ATF license application, but it is not known if he's going to get it in time. So North Star called me today, as a matter of fact, to see if we're still interested. They have July 2nd, which is a Sunday, available. The starting price is $12,500. We have 10,000 in the budget. We had talked with Eric about between 7,500 and 10,000 was going to be his price. He can't do the size that North Star did with the license he has now. He can do them, but he said they won't be as big as what we're used to. So,
Ugh.
yep. So North Star has reached out to me a few times, and I've kind of pushed him back a little bit, waiting to hear back from Eric. And I finally got a hold of Eric today, and he said that it's the license. I mean, he doesn't have the license to be able to purchase and use the big ones.
All right. So North Star still has Sunday.
North Star is being a good vendor to us and hanging off on that Sunday date. So the July 4th is a Tuesday. Actually, I think it's a board meeting night.
Well,
but
we probably won't have it.
Yeah. But they're holding July 2nd for us right now. For how long? I don't know.
Well, rec committee, what should we do? It's not really rec, but it's everybody. What should we do?
Well, it's actually the celebration committee.
Okay.
Well, if the man doesn't have the proper license, then, I mean, I don't like paying the higher price, but I don't want to get ourselves into a conundrum if something goes south in displaying those. So it's kind of a case where you pay up front or you pay afterwards if there's any kind of, if they don't have the right licenses.
Yeah.
I just, it's up to you guys, but it scares me.
He said it's possible he'll have it, but we don't know. And then it's going to be probably, we're realistically, we're not that far away. So I don't know if he's gonna be able to order them. Like there's a lot of unknowns, like,
Oh, he can't even get them until.
right. He can't order them until he
Oh.
gets his license. So
Gotcha.
We don't have any other.
This is where we're at.
Any other vendors to compare it to.
There's really no one else that
Can
can
we
do
go
it.
back to North Star and see if they would meet us at least like halfway between it? That's the rock bottom.
We got a letter. So we got a letter from them late 22 or maybe early 23, and they gave a detail about it's supply chain, like the cost to ship it across from they come from China. I mean, the cost to produce them, ship them, everything is more expensive. They said they were having to bid on container space, so that's why the costs went up, because it just wasn't normal anymore. We used to do this for 7,500, and they were talking about 15,000 for a budget, and they were willing to come down. The 12,500 is their compromise.
That's right. They wanted, you're right.
Yes.
Okay. So
it was a drastic
guess we
increase.
better-
In a few years, it doubled.
I guess we better find the money then.
I think we probably can. All right, so we should do a motion to authorize North Star. We don't have anything signed with the other guy besides he
We don't.
can't
And
perform.
he
so-
was apologetic,
Yeah.
but there's not much he can do. So,
No, there's not.
but I kind of pushed him today. I said, like, I need to know, because we can't really wait anymore. So,
All right. Okay, move to go with North Star for 12,500. Sharon, is that a second?
Yep.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 okay,
Motion
I will
carries.
get a hold of them in the morning. The last thing is the appointments. If you want to, we can.
No, I don't think there's anything urgent in the list, so.
None of the appointees are here waiting for their.
Yeah, let's see, we've done the committee reports, we've.
Well, wait a minute.
Yep, sorry.
Talking the appointees for,
We like the fence viewer and
Oh.
Weyer
Yeah.
Pole and
I figured that wouldn't be.
critical.
We took care of the listers. Yeah.
We took care of the ones we needed to tonight. Yeah.
Any other business? Thank you all for hanging in there. Motion to adjourn is in order. Second, all in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Aye. Good night, all. Thanks again.